Hey there, guys. So today I'm gonna show how we can use background actions to improve the overall performance of your community pages. So let me show you the setup that I have created. So this is my Scratch org, and I have created a community, which is a partner central community, and I am using a few components. Let me show. Basically, there's only one component. And let's not focus too much on the markup. This is just a markup that I'm using to show the data that I'm retrieving. But let's focus on this part. So basically, when the component loads on that specific Lightning page inside the community, I'm making three calls to the server. These are all three async calls. And right here, so I'm retrieving a list of accounts. I'm retrieving a list of contacts. I'm also retrieving a list of opportunities. Now, let me tell you in advance that I have created about 200 account records in the system, 200 contact records in the system, and I don't have any opportunities at all. But still, this would make a request to the server, and we would be studying the effects of these calls. And these are all being fired asynchronously. As we can see here, these are all async actions. And these are the corresponding server-side methods that I've created. These are all obviously Aura-enabled methods. So let's take a look at the community. So this is the community that I've created. And I've created a Lightning page. And this is already visible in the menu. I'm calling it accounts, although I'm using a few, components which are not really accounts, like for instance, contacts. So this is just for the sake of demonstration, because and there can always be a question: hey, why didn't you just retrieve the contacts along with the accounts? But no, that's not the point. The point is, if let's say if you have a Lightning page in your community and you have uh, either multiple components, or if you have, let's say, one component, but there are several actions being fired from the client side from your Aura component, and then you are retrieving something from the server side, and how it affects your performance. As you can see here, I have 200 account records, starting from account 0 to account 199. Same goes for contact. And I'm not rendering the opportunities because there are no opportunities in the system, but still I'm making that call. Now, first of all, we need to know how to check the performance of your community pages. So for that, we have something called Salesforce Community Page Optimizer. So this is basically a plugin, and I'm not sure if it's available for other browsers or not, but this is something that is available for Chrome. And when I click on this, it will show me the details, the performance related statistics of the current community page. So let's see how it fares. Okay, now this is way too bad. 25% is the score. Overall is 82%. Now, this is something that can fluctuate, because this particular Lightning page that you are seeing right now, it's comprised not only of the custom Aura component that I created, but it does load a few of the standard Salesforce components as well, which are being used in the community. So those components have their own load times and may improve if you try to reload them. But our sole focus would be on the actions that we are invoking from our component. So perhaps I can try reloading this once again. And then let's see how it behaves. Okay, so now this time, let's have a look. And okay. Okay, hold on a sec. Okay, so at this point, we can see that it has a 100% score. Well, it's actually a good score because see, like what I said, the other components from the page, they have actually improved because these are the standard components. But even then, I would be happy because I see one red block. And the idea is if a certain XHR call takes like more than 300 ms, then that's not good for the overall performance of the page. So even though it says 100% because, like relatively percentage wise, every other component is working fine except for this specific call. Now, if I do a mouse over, you can see it's actually combining get accounts, get contacts, and get opportunities. If you can take a look, along with get SEO language data. This phenomenon is known as carboxing. It's basically because see how the actions are basically fired. So if you take a look for our components when we are making a call to the server side from the client side, we're not directly making any call. We're just placing them in a queue. You see basically $a.enqueue action. So we just create the action and then we set the call back and eventually we queue it up. So we are placing these actions in a queue. Now, how these actions would be sent to the server is something that the Aura framework decides. Now, this phenomenon that I just mentioned, the concept of carboxing, it essentially means, like how you can, when you must have seen when cars are, transported by a train, you can place a lot of cars in one box of one coach of the train. So that's the analogy. But what actually happens is the framework can batch together a lot of the actions. And this is exactly what you are seeing here. So even though these are all asynchronous actions, the framework may combine them together to form one request to the server. And when it does so, even though these are asynchronous, they will get serially on the server side. So if I take a look at this one, maybe I can actually open it up in a separate tab. Okay. So at this point, what I can see is, yeah, if I actually check this out, see, this one is actually a combination of 4 actions. And if you read this, actions batched together are executed serially on the server, even if they are async actions. If the framework batches them together, and why it does so, sometimes, like if this is how the queue operates, unless you tell the framework that, you do not batch my action with somebody else, it won't do that. Based on the convenience, like it actually depends. Sometimes 1, sometimes 6 actions together, sometimes 4 actions together, sometimes 3, sometimes 1. It depends. Okay. So in this case, what happens is our 3 actions have actually been batched together with this one, get SEO language data. And as a result, what happens is we are getting this warning actions batched together, executed serially on the server, splitting these into multiple XHR via set background or set timeout minimizes impact of slow actions on overall performance. It's true because like, let's say if we have 4 actions and they all take relatively, like, let's say 200 ms. So if they are executed serially on the server, and if they are batched together and sent to the server, 200 in times 4, 800 ms is the total execution time. But if we can split these into parallel threads and somehow find a way to make them execute in parallel, then imagine 200 ms because they are not executing in serial. They're all executing in their own parallel threads, meaning they can all execute at the same time. And we can also take a look here at the waterfall section. It is a lot of sections, like what's happening where, like it will show you whether the actions are background, like they can run the background or not, whether they're storable or not, boardable or not. These are separate terms that I will explain. But our main focus here is on how the set background can improve the performance. So if I take a look here, this is basically the combination of the four actions, okay? And it takes like over 36 ms, 0.36 seconds. So yeah, roughly a little over 350 ms. So if I check this here in the Insights tab, yeah, 357 ms. And to have a better performance, it's recommended that XHR calls take less than 300 ms. So how can we do that? Like obviously the optimizer gives us a hint that use set background and what exactly this set background does and how it can improve the performance. So let's take a look. Right now, none of my actions are configured to run the background. The easiest way to do it is by using action dot set background. Okay, and I'm going to use the same for the other actions as well. You need to mention this before you queue the action. So it has to be here or anywhere else, just that it has to be before this queuing, okay? And now all three of my actions are now supposed to run in their own parallel threads rather than being, batched together. So let's take a look like how it behaves now. So I'll try to load this again. And let's see. Whoops. Okay, running audit. And here, do not be worried about the reduction in score because, like I said, the Salesforce standard components have, like sometimes fluctuating behavior, but that's not where we are focusing right now. So the same three actions which were batched together, now you see this is running in its own thread, one action. Our get accounts is running in its own thread, and the get context is running in its own thread. And then the get opportunities is also running in its own thread. Now, let's ignore this for a while because our main focus is that now we are able to run all four of these actions in their own parallel threads. As a result, what happens is individually, they all take, except for this one, okay? Because something on the server side went wrong. So this is something would have amounted to the total time if it was batched together. But now imagine this is the slowest one. So it would only take like 448. Maybe we can try reloading the page once again to see how it works because technically speaking, there are no opportunities. It shouldn't take that long. Maybe it's the network bandwidth or something. Okay, let me try to reload this once again. Okay, still running the audit. This is a nice plugin to like analyze the performance of your page, and if you're having issues, you can always fix it. So now this time you see the score is 95%. So it actually depends on the standard components as well. Here again, if I check, so this time the get opportunities is okay. So it might have been a network issue or something because here we are not really returning anything. So the same 4 records when they were batched together. They actually took more than 300 ms. But now that they have been separated in their own individual threads, and you can also see there's this red, sorry, the green tick. So they're actually running in parallel. And even if I take a look at the waterfall, you will see that these 4 of them, they're actually running in parallel. You see the sequence. They're not like running in serial, like a big block, like this one, because now they have been split into their own individual threads, meaning even on the server side, they can actually execute in parallel threads. So not only improving performances, there's another benefit of doing this. We know that the SOQL limit, the number of SOQLs that you can execute in a given transaction. And when I say transaction, you can also relate it to the thread, the concept of thread. So if these 4 actions are batched together, any query that you run inside them, they will be running in a single transaction, in a single thread. And if they somehow end up executing, exceeding the limit, you will get an error stating too many SOQ, because the limit is per transaction, or rather per thread of execution. But if we use this concept of like running these actions in the background, they're running in their own threads. And even on the server side, if you like set up debug logs and try to see how it's working, you would see, since they are running in their own individual threads, they all have their own limits. So this is another added advantage that I have personally noticed in my projects when I worked, and splitting them into like their individual threads not only helps with the performance, but it also allows you to have additional limits. So like, let's say these 4 actions when batched together, combined together, they had a limit of 100 SOQL queries. But since I have separated these 4 as their own individual threads, each of them have 100 SOQL queries limit as of now. So this is another benefit that you can have. I wouldn't essentially call it a hack, but yeah, this is one way, if you are working with R components, that you can ensure that you don't run into SOQL query limits. So not only can we improve performance, but at the same time, we can, avoid the too many SOQL errors that might happen if our actions are batched together. So overall, this plugin is something that is very, very useful. Where did it go? Yep, this one. And you can open it in a separate tab, and it helps to analyze, especially now. See, it also shows that it's running in the background. So yeah, there are other ways to improve performance. Like you can also make these actions cacheable. So right now, see, it's showing storable as red. But if let's say, cacheable equals true, this is another way that you can improve the performance. Yeah, basically it caches your responses for a certain amount of time, and if if you're reloading again within the same time that the cache is still there, it won't really call the server side method. It would rather retrieve it from the cache. So this is another benefit on top of improving the performance. So now if I try to retrieve it, okay. And if I refresh this page, what I can see is Oops, hold on a sec. Maybe I'll just delete this and close this and try to reload this. Okay, and here I'm gonna load it in a separate tab. Yeah, sometimes it may take a while to reflect that. But yeah, like I said, since the main focus of this demo was to show how using set background, essentially running the actions in their own threads, can have a positive effect on the overall performance of your community pages. So you can try this out if you are having, like poor performances. First of all, get this plugin, the Salesforce Optimizer plugin, quite nifty, quite helpful. You can, check various statistics in all these tabs to see how your components are getting loaded, what time it is taking, and if there is a batching or not. If there's a batching, uh, like the overall execution time for that specific batch. When I say batch, the batch of actions. If that exceeds 300 ms, the performance will degrade. So try to split as much as possible, because not only it helps to improve the performance, but like I said, they all run in their own threads, and the limit of SOQL queries is per thread. So you will also be able to, avoid running into the too many SOQL limit error. So with this, I'd like to end this demo here. I know it's kind of a short demo, but if you have any questions, feel free to post them in the comment section. And the code for this specific demonstration would be available on my GitHub repository, and the link will be shared in the description of the YouTube video. So feel free to ask any questions if you have, and if you would like me to make another video on another topic, feel free to let me know via my Twitter or via as a comment in my YouTube. My Twitter handle is bishwambar_sen. So yeah, and thank you for patiently watching this demo and listening to me. Thank you. How do I end this? Stop sharing.